What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Johners. This is episode 122, and this is another Turnbuckle TV interview. This is the fourth interview in partnership with Turnbuckle TV we've done here on Wrestling with Johners. So after listening to this one, please go back and check out some of the others I've done in conjunction with Turnbuckle TV, such as CJ Carter, Chantel Jordan, Big Effing Joe. But today we have two gentlemen who have quickly caught the attention of the British independent wrestling scene. They are the co-owners, co-promoters, you could say, of the hottest promotion coming out of East Anglia right now. I want to present to you Dave and Ant from DNA Wrestling. Gentlemen, how are you both? Thanks for coming on the Wrestling with Johners podcast.
I'm good, thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really, really well. Even better now. Speaking to you two, but thank you both very much for kind of being part of this exclusive interview presented by Turnbuckle TV. Now, I've got to kind of kick into the hot topic that everybody's talking about, that it's affecting everybody. You know, the world's taking a bit of a hiatus at the moment, and no more so than in pro wrestling. I'm sure that DNA has been caught up in all of this. DNA Wrestling's been caught up in all of this palaver. Now, your next show was due to be taking place this Saturday, the 18th, and it was the I'm Not Mad, Just Disappointed show. Now, it was going to be headlined by Big Effing Joe, and as I mentioned, we've had him on the podcast, and he was going up against William Evers. Now, I'm guessing that all plans are having to be put on hold for the foreseeable future. I mean, starting with you, Dave, you know, what sort of impact has it had on DNA Wrestling? I'm guessing that, you know, those plans are out the window at the moment.
Yeah, things are a bit up in the air at the minute regarding plans, but it's actually quite good because we can actually take stock of everything and, you know, look into things a bit more and progress storylines a bit probably better than we could, you know, with it all going on.
Yeah. And Ant, your perspective on things at the moment and with regards to DNA?
Yeah, obviously, you know, it's a shame what's happened. Obviously, you know, no one's to blame. No one can see it coming, especially when, you know, it's coming up to WrestleMania season.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, a real opportunity for these small companies and that to really, you know, get themselves out there. We're quite lucky in the fact that we are still very young. We'd just come off the back of our anniversary show, so, you know, we just kind of finished some storylines, but obviously we've now lost a little bit of momentum as I feel like we really started to lay down some good storylines.
Yeah.
Happen. We're just back to the drawing board.
Yeah, well, we'll kind of get into all of DNA very, very soon and kind of how it all started and the fantastic first year you guys had. But trying to kind of get away from the doom and gloom for 2 minutes, you know, as I said, DNA has recently celebrated its first anniversary, as you mentioned, back in your February show. So congratulations on that, gentlemen, a really, really successful first year. If you could sum up your first year of DNA Wrestling, with all the many highs that you've had, how would you describe the first 12 months for you guys? Starting with you, Dave, how would you put into words them first 12 months?
Stressful. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. There's times where me and Ant have been pulling our hair out and, you know, we're chatting at like stupid o'clock in the morning to sort things out and stuff. But at the end of it, you know, we love doing what we're doing at the minute, and I think it'll only get better when it starts up again.
Definitely. And could you sum up the first 12 months for us, Ant? How's it been for you? I'm sure it's been just as stressful, but I'm sure lots of highs along the way as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like Dave said, it was probably one of the most stressful things I've ever done. But the difference is you're doing something that you love and have a passion for. Therefore, you know, it's a lot easier to kind of follow the path sort of thing.
Yeah.
We actually started, when we started the first show, kind of I was having some real, you know, personal problems. So it started at a real bad time. But luckily, my love for wrestling, I had this to kind of grip hold of. And it has literally just pulled me through the year. My life has totally done a 360. And yeah,
Brilliant.
we're a year of great shows.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and we get talking more about the shows and a bit more about DNA very very soon. But before we get into all of that, I want to kind of travel way back and go back to when you first became wrestling fans, when your wrestling fandom kind of first hit in. Really, I mean, it started with you, Ant, this time. Well, can you remember when you first clapped eyes on pro wrestling and when your world was changed forever and turned upside down because of coming across pro wrestling? Essentially, when did you first come across it? When did you first become a fan?
Yeah, so mine was, it was kind of the same kind of story as most people. It was kind of when it first came about on Sky. I was very fortunate enough, like, to be able to have some of the Sky channels, and also caught some of it when it was aired free as well.
Yeah.
And I don't, I think it was characters that caught me. Growing up, I was a big Randy Savage fan, Macho Man.
Yeah.
Had a lot of the duvet and what have you. And then I was kind of, as I got a bit older, I was very fortunate to be, like, my era was the Attitude Era. And yeah, just absolutely fell in love with the carnage, and you just tuned in every week. You just didn't know what was going to happen next. They had that element of surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, the Attitude Era was an awesome time, and that's around the time when I was growing up and getting into it as well. But Dave, for yourself, was it around about the same time? Can you remember when you first clapped eyes on pro wrestling and when it changed your world forever?
Mine's quite a funny story actually. My first memory of wrestling was my mum and my auntie Heather absolutely going mental at the TV watching Hogan versus Randy Savage, and I actually got upset because I didn't realise why they were screaming at the telly. Growing up though, Jake the Snake Roberts was always my favourite. It's quite funny, Anthony just mentioned the duvet and stuff, because I had exactly the same, but with Jake the Snake. Because I was obsessed with like reptiles and stuff as a younger kid, so I was always kind of drawn to Damien the Snake and
Yeah.
obviously the Cobra that he had at the time as well. And then obviously, again, was same as Anthony, really growing up in the Attitude Era. Recently been rewatching some of the older Manias on the network while we were on lockdown, and it just brings back so many good memories of excellent wrestling. Some of the matches and the cards they had back then. There's so much star power. It's incredible.
Yeah. And going back to you, Ant, I mean, how would you say that your wrestling tastes have changed or matured over the years? Obviously, you both started growing up as a WWE fan. Did you branch out into kind of more promotions, start looking at stuff from different countries?
Yeah, so, well, for me, really, my taste has totally changed. To be totally honest, I don't watch much WWE programming now. It's just not. It doesn't keep me entertained.
Yeah.
I went to my first Mania, which was Mania 30. Luckily enough to see the streak end. And I met an independent wrestler out there who was just getting into Progress. And he said, come and check me out at a show. Got back off holiday, went to a Progress show. Jimmy Havoc walked through the curtain, bang, hooked, back to the Attitude Era. And that's Progress kind of really put me on the path to independent wrestling and what's out there. And after that, I just explored and found all these great promotions. And if I do watch anything mainstream now, it's normally new to my kind of style.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dave, how was your wrestling taste change? Has it swung more towards the independent product?
Yeah, definitely. Like Ant said, my first independent show was Progress. I think it was one of the strong styles. I think the very first one, actually, to be fair. Again, just hooked. Loved it. Watched New Japan quite a bit. Current at WWE, don't really watch. I did watch Mania. I wasn't too excited about it, but I think that's just because my tastes have changed.
Yeah.
But been watching a bit of AEW. That's been pretty cool. But yeah, just mostly independent stuff, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So putting all that to one side, I mean, you guys have obviously known each other for a little while, and we'll get into your kind of relationship regarding DNA wrestling very, very soon. But how did the two of you meet? Was it from school or college, or did you live near one another? How did you two kind of come into contact with one another to start off with?
I think I should tell. Yeah, I should tell this story. We had a house fire in my house, and we got temporary moved to another house while our old house was getting repaired.
Yeah.
And Anthony was one of the kids in the street at the age of about 10. And we just become best friends from then, really. We just hanged out every day, watched football, watched wrestling. Yes, we've been best friends now for 22 years, I think.
And you was telling us about your Macho Man duvet and your Jake the Snake duvet. Was it wrestling that kind of brought you closer together back in the day?
I'd say more football to begin with. Yeah, I think that's kind of what obviously got us connected, because we were obviously kicking a football around the field, and then obviously when you learn each other's interests and you're like, oh, you like wrestling? Yeah. It just goes from there, I think.
Yeah, I can always remember a very early memory of sleeping over at David's, and we broke his mum and dad's bed wrestling on it. One of us did it was like an elbow drop or something, and I remember hearing the bed. I think we've all done that, haven't we?
Yeah, I've broken a few beds with elbow drops.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Just looking at DNA then. So you told me about how you kind of became friends, and football and wrestling kind of brought you closer together. Is there a story behind how DNA wrestling started then? So, I mean, were you thinking about, were you discussing it for a long time about starting your own promotion? Was it an idea that just came to you in the middle of the night? I mean, Dave, starting with you, I mean, how did you kind of have this idea as wrestling fans that you're going to start your own promotion?
Well, me and Ant have always kind of like discussed how we could get involved in wrestling, whether it was, shirt printing, wrestling t-shirts, or doing something down those lines, or like t-shirts and stuff. Yeah. I was on holiday in Turkey, and I just messaged him out of the blue. I've been thinking about it for a couple of days, and this would have been 2018. I said to him then, I said, look, we're not doing anything that we keep talking about. I said, let's finally actually do something. And I said to him, let's put on a wrestling show. And he actually come back and said, yeah, why not? So that was quite cool. I was expecting him to go, nah, don't be stupid, Dave, But, we'd gone to a few smaller independent promotions around where we live. And we just felt that we could do it as well, not better. We don't want to diss other promotions, but just felt we could add our, little take on it and go from there, really.
Yeah. And, I mean, Ant, did either of you have any prior experience of running a wrestling show or starting your own promotion? This was completely fresh for you guys, I'm guessing.
Yeah, totally. Like I say, the only experience we had was we spent a good 6 years plus kind of going to watching shows, kind of figuring out who's like the wrestlers up and coming and stuff like that, who will draw, and just things like that. And yeah, we did have luxury of there's a quite good school near where we are, so we're always going to their shows and just we're always kind of in the loop. And yeah, we thought, let's do a show. We looked at what kind of shows. Most of the shows in our areas are geared towards families. We wanted the way we stand out is it's more geared toward adults. Yeah. So we have the bar. There's a bit more swearing. It's a bit more violent. So I feel that's how DNA stands out. We have that element to our shows that others don't in our area.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, going back to you, Ant, tell us about, putting on that first show. You said that you had quite a few years of going round and kind of seeing what the promotions were doing in your area and kind of picking up some ideas along the way. But did it take a while to put together your first show? I mean, I'm guessing you were making mistakes along the way and learning as you were going. But tell us about that experience of kind of starting from scratch and putting your first show together.
Yeah, wow. It was definitely the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
To the point where I was in the back room, and one of the wrestlers said, like, I can literally feel the tension radiating off you. Like, you need to calm down. I just wanted it to go well.
Yeah.
It was years and years of, something, thinking about it, and it was just that was the payoff for us, because if it had gone, it did go well, but if it had gone the other way, it could have just made us think, do you know what, we're not, this isn't for us. But no, it took a while to put together. We originally had a card sorted, and then we had a couple of problems, and we ended up scrapping the whole roster, bringing new people in, but it actually worked for the better for the show. But yeah, it was pretty stressful, but we got through. We had good people on the show, some veterans, and they were there to help, and their advice was good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's talk a bit more about your first show then, because one thing that I'm really, really fascinated about is how you put together your first card, and you said that you had different versions of your card, and you had to go back to scratch on one or two aspects of it, one or two matches. But as new promoters, I mean, how do you go about approaching the talent to be part of your first show? And even more impressive, you had the likes of Paul Robinson and Spike Trivet. They were headlining your first show, It's in Our Blood, February last year with a death match. So, I mean, Dave, how do you kind of start approaching the talent and start getting them, because you're a fledgling company, you haven't run a show yet. How do you kind of start putting a card together?
Basically, just Facebook, really, messaging them, being polite, explaining, the situation, what's going on. Some replied back, some didn't. A few emails were sent back and forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, just basically I think the wrestlers we approached that were all very accepting and were excited about it, and it's just, you just got to be polite and make sure that you don't disrespect them and stuff like that, because that's the thing at the beginning. We were like, will they take us seriously? Do you feel like cheeky asking them how much they pay and stuff like that? You didn't really know how to approach it, but you just had to kind of just grab it and just go with it. But now it's second nature, really.
Yeah. And how long were you promoting the show for before the big day itself? I mean, going back to you, Ant, tell us about, I mean, were you promoting it for days, weeks, or months? And obviously you had to kind of get that interest, and then eventually you had to start promoting the wrestlers that were going to be on the card. But how long were you promoting the show for before it actually took place?
Yeah, I think it was a good, if I can remember rightly, it was a good probably 6 months, I'd say.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, really driving it. It was in our hotel. It was in our hometown as well, in a small little labour club. So yeah, we were really driving it. Endless days and nights of flying. We fly to town centre, the areas around. Really tried to ramp it up. And we did manage to sell it out, so it paid off. But yeah, I'd say we spent a good 6 months kind of coming up with a show and promoting it to actual show day.
Yeah, because I think probably a lot of my listeners probably don't realise what goes into promoting a show, let alone your first ever show when it's a brand new company and you kind of starting from scratch. I mean, Dave, I'm going to ask you the next question. Did you have anybody within the business that were kind of helping you along the way? Anybody that was giving you guidance or advice along the way? Because I know that you had was it Gary Ward at one of your shows from WrestleGate Pro? He's a fairly new promoter himself, but he's picked up the reins really, really quickly and doing an excellent job over there in Nottingham. But what about you guys? Did you have anybody that was guiding you along the way and giving you advice?
Yeah, we had a few people. Gary was one of them. It was quite funny because we were kind of like planning our shows, together really, because they were both within a couple of months of each other.
Yes.
So we went to their show, their debut show, and he come to ours, and it was good getting to know him, and he's lucky that he was a photographer in the business, so he had a bit of know-how already.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a few people that we could go to and ask for advice. Maybe not always the best advice, but we live and learn. And it was mostly just me and Ant really, just not I wouldn't say winging it, but we kind of just had to kind of like just go with it really, and just if we made a bad decision, we made a bad decision. We didn't know at the time, but luckily most of it paid off, so it's all right.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to that first show, I mean, after it was all done, what was the kind of feeling like? Did you get really good feedback from the fans and the wrestlers, the backstage team, you guys? What was the feeling like in the locker room? You must have been absolutely buzzing after that first show.
Yeah, it was really, really good. A lot of good positive feedback, especially from the wrestlers, because obviously they had water and food and stuff backstage, so they really appreciate that, and showers, which we've managed to carry on every show, which has been nice. The fans, again, the messages on social media and that afterwards, that's one of the best things after a wrestling show, is you get home, it can be gone 12 o'clock, but you still just chill out and look on social media, and just the messages of support, and oh, what a great night and stuff like that. It really brings it all home, and just really grounds you. It makes you feel quite special really.
And Ant, after that first show, I bet all that stress just went away, didn't it?
Yeah, I wish it did, mate.
Oh, really?
I tell you, it took me a couple of days to kind of calm down and figure out like what had just happened.
Yeah, the adrenaline, I bet, was pumping.
It was crazy. I just had a headache. I just couldn't shift. But it was nothing to do with the show as per se. It was just me. It's just it's how I work. I put the pressure on myself. It's something I'm very proud of that me and Dave have built together.
Absolutely.
And I will literally give every being of myself to make it succeed.
Yeah. And at that point, you just finished your first show last February. At the time, did you expect it to be a one and done? Did you expect to think, well, that's it, or did you already have plans in the back of your mind for show number 2? I mean, Ant, how would you answer that one?
Yeah, so originally when Dave came to me with the idea was just for a show.
Yeah.
Kind of, let's see if we can do it. So at that time, there was no plans to carry it on. It was just like one and done.
Yeah.
And then we kind of sat down, obviously saw the response. We had scoped out. I think we had scoped out another venue, which is where we are now, during the run up to the first show, just kind of seeing what was out there. But it was always just the plan to do the one show, just to sort of kind of see how we do it. And I think, to be honest, we never expected it to go the way it did, and it went so well. Everyone, especially the wrestlers, were so receptive, and gave us some great ideas going forward. So yeah.
Cool. And then after that, it went a bit nuts. I mean, your second show was in April, so you had a couple of months to wait until your next show. It was the Go Big or Go Home show, and you're able to up the star power even more. You had the likes of Niwa there, and I think that's when you had the WrestleGate Pro exhibition match that I mentioned earlier that Gary was at, and Niwa was going up against Jake McCluskey. You also had the likes of Spike Trevay, he was back again, Al Fantasmo, and not forgetting that main event, the first ever big fight, I think, between Big F and Joe and Paul Robinson. That kind of kick-started their feud in DNA, but that's a hell of a lineup for your second ever show, as well as even more exciting talents that supported the rest of the card that night. Tell us about that second show. I mean, was it just as stressful kind of in the lead up to it and all the planning, or do you think it went a bit smoother, and how did you think the night went?
I mean, go on, you go. No, you go.
All right. Yeah, it was still stressful. Shows, well, certainly for myself, it will always be stressful because I tend to make them that way for myself. But it is getting better as the show's going. You get slightly more comfortable in what you're doing. And we do have a great team around us now. So I can kind of ease off the reins slightly.
Yeah.
But yeah, as that second show, one of my main things on that show was just timing. Like, I wanted to try and run to time, which we did nearly. We weren't too far over. And that for me was when I looked at the card, and we had Phantasmo, which we managed to catch him just before he went off to Japan.
Yeah.
And I don't actually think it was common knowledge then, but he gave a little speech in the ring, just basically saying, support got places like DNA, and like hearing those words come out of someone like that's mouth was just like, wow, we've got something here.
Yeah.
You could kind of get a sense of it that night. Yeah.
And Dave, I mean, the main event, Big F and Joe versus Paul Robinson. I mean, did you know you had something special when those two touched? I mean, I don't know. I've heard. I believe this was their first ever time they fought each other. But a pretty special main event to have on your second ever show, would you say?
Yeah, it was. It was the first time they'd actually ever met each other as well. It was quite funny because as soon as Paul met Big Joe, he went, "Blimey, you are Big Joe, aren't you?" Because there are obviously a size difference there. We just wanted to kind of like have like a spectacle, really, because it's like David versus Goliath, isn't it? You got the small guy and the big guy, and I think you can really tell a story with that.
Yeah, the thing with Paul Robinson though, he doesn't realise that he's not 6 foot tall, does he? He'll just kick lumps out of anybody and don't care. But I've seen that match over and over, and I absolutely love it. But just switching kind of tactics a little bit here. Tell us about the name of the promotion, DNA Wrestling. So it's a pretty cool name for a new wrestling promotion. How did you come up with the name DNA Wrestling? Because it's a pretty cool name. I mean, Dave, do you want to kickstart this one?
Yeah, it's quite simple, really. It's just basically David and Anthony. It's as simple as that.
No shit.
Yeah, and we come. I think Ant come around my house, and we went through shed loads of names, and we had silly names, and we were just trying to like visualize what people could chant as well. So like DNA. There's a natural chant there. So we wanted to kind of like have something that was quite easy to come off the tongue and stuff like that. But yeah, it is just simply David and Anthony. And when it was probably one of the last ones that we actually like writ down as well. And then we were like, oh, actually, that's perfect.
Yeah, and he just sounds fantastic. Like I say, trips off the tongue, great for chanting. But I mean, Ant, I want to throw the next question over to you if I can. You got the great name DNA Wrestling, but you've also got the awesome logo as well. I mean, that's a pretty badass logo, to be honest with you. It really stands out. It really makes people stand up and take notice of the company. Tell us a bit about the logo. Who came up with the idea? Was you there with your drawing pad, kind of drawing out ideas for days on end? And tell us about the symbols at the bottom of the logo as well. What do they mean? But yeah, tell us a bit about the logo, please.
Yeah, so obviously any new wrestling promotion, you kind of, unless you're gifted with creative skills, like art-wise, which me and Dave aren't particularly, but we reached out and managed to find a really good designer who had a bit of experience running shows himself. So we approached him and come to an agreement. He does our graphics. And we asked him to sign a logo. Originally, we had a shield. We went for kind of like a football badge logo, but we're looking at it. And obviously, as we decided to progress, we thought we need something that's a bit more easier to print, to kind of just strip it back a bit. So we come up with the round logo, and we had to get the skull. Because we wanted to be a bit more, like I said, we're a bit more, we like to think of ourselves as pro wrestling with attitude.
Yeah.
So a bit more aggressive, a bit more attitude, and the skull, I think, with a beard really kind of resembles that. And then you've got, so you've noticed the Japanese symbols at the bottom.
Yeah.
So what that stands for is it's in our blood.
Right.
So another kind of DNA, David explained that it means David and Anthony, which is very true. But also we named our first show and our first anniversary show, it's in our blood.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Another meaning behind DNA is we both firmly believe that professional wrestling, in some way or another, we live and breathe it, is in our blood. So that's
great.
That's why we put that into a logo. And when people ask, we get the pleasure of telling them that. So we could have just written it in our blood, but we obviously have a bit of a Japanese wrestling influence as well. So we wanted to kind of put like a bit of a hidden meaning in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've already kind of answered this question, but just to see if you can expand on it at all, and I'll start with you, Ant, if that's okay. I mean, who would you say you aim your products and your kind of DNA wrestling at? I mean, is there a particular type of fan base, or you've got, like I say, a bit more of an adult orientated wrestling scene. You've had a few death matches and things like that, but would you say that you aim your product at a particular fan base?
Yeah, so it is more geared towards kind of 16 and over. We want people to come to our shows. It doesn't matter if you know wrestling or if you don't. I've had my own mother. All she's known from wrestling is me growing up. And although she's my mum, she now comes to every show and asks me questions like in the build up to it, like, oh, so and so going to be there. Like, what's he doing? Like, she's basically converted like to a wrestling fan, which is amazing. And we've had so many of those people that have just come just to kind of see what it's about, and then they just keep coming back. I think if we aim to create that kind of show atmosphere, so no matter what's going on in your life at that current time, you can just come to one of our shows. 2.5 hours and just forget about the world and just enjoy a show.
Yeah. And Dave, for yourself, I mean, looking at your fan base, you've got a really, really loyal fan base. As Ant just said, they keep coming back and they're growing all the time. I think the Inspire venue has certainly become the home of DNA. But tell us a bit about the venue and tell us a bit about, your loyal fans of DNA Wrestling.
Just touching back on my answer, one of the bits of advice that we got from a fairly big promotion who I was speaking to was build your own fan base. He said, don't worry about the wrestling fans. He said, they'll come naturally. He said, you need to build your non-wrestling fans and you need to turn them into wrestling fans. And I think Ant's mum's a perfect example of that. I know probably 6, 7, 8 people now that come to the shows that had never been to a show before, that are now avid wrestling fans. They're buying T-shirts, they're getting pictures with the wrestlers, and so that's good to see. And that's one of the bits of advice that's really stuck with me is create your own fan base, create, let's say, the DNA family. Really, you need to, because they're the ones that will be loyal.
Yeah, absolutely.
The venue is incredible. We're very lucky there. The venue itself, the company Inspire, they love us, and they're very happy that we're there now. It was a bit of a bumpy start, but we got through it, and that it's just the perfect venue, really. Holds enough people that we need right now. The facilities for the wrestlers are perfect. We have changing rooms and showers and stuff like that, so, and a bar, which, adds to the whole adult theme. So, it's and
you tell us a bit about your fan base, your actual fans. I mean, you've probably got a lot of loyal fans that have been going since day one, and they're dragging people along and shouting your praise and really promoting the product. Have you got a message you'd like to say to your fans? Because obviously, in such a short space of time, the first 12 months, you've certainly built up that very loyal following.
Just thank you very much. On a show day, we me and Ant try and chat to as many as we can. But obviously, being busy and stuff like that, we can't chat to them all. But, they're the best fans in the world. I know it's quite like cliche, but they are. They're sharing stuff on social media. Even during the lockdown, they're messaging in, checking in to see if like we're okay, and if there's going to be more shows and stuff like that. So I think we're kind of building a little family there, and like some of the non-wrestling fans that have come that I've spoke to, one thing I do say to them before the show, I was like, when you leave tonight, you'll feel like you're part of a family. And you go up to them afterwards and you go, you're exactly right, Dave. Everyone just comes together, forgets what's going on in their life, and just goes crazy for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and I was speaking to another podcaster yesterday. You probably know it's another guy called John Scott from WrestleLine, and I know that he does some backstage interviews whenever DNA have their shows, but he was saying that you guys really look after the wrestlers, and there's been a lot of feedback from the wrestlers saying how well you look after them with the food and the facilities. So just a bit of feedback from John there, if you haven't heard, that the wrestlers really appreciate the effort that you guys put in when they do come along to Suffolk and perform for you guys. But so well done for that. But moving on a little bit anyway, so let's talk about some of the other shows through 2019. So, throughout 2019, you were kind of putting on semi-regular shows. In June, you had Battle Zone. In August, you had Project 4. Or was it Project IV? I kind of think Project IV is probably more in keeping with the DNA theme, but very clever name, by the way. And then in November, you had Fight Fiction. And I think that the post you've got with Lana Austin featured in that Pulp Fiction-esque poster is a really cool poster, by the way. And then to cap it all off, you had How the Grinch Stole Brit Rest, and that was headlined by another match between Big Effing Joe and Paul Robinson. But as each show was taking place, you must have been getting more and more confident in your abilities as promoters. What were some of the more important lessons that you were learning along the way? So starting with you, Ant, you had a very successful 2019, some great shows, as I just mentioned. What were some of the big lessons as far as you were concerned that you were learning along the way? Were you getting more confident in your abilities as a promoter?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, you never stop learning, always learning show to show. But my thing was to kind of, each show I would look for, what went well, and then I'd look at what we could do better, and I'd always try and implement what not necessarily went wrong, but what we could have done better. I'd try and implement it straight away into the next show. So for me, on show days, I'd do a lot of the kind of front production, and kind of the match card, the order and stuff. So for me, I'm a stickler for times. Like, I really want, when we tell, our fans that a show will start at this time and it will finish at that time. Some people are coming by train, so they need to be out by a certain time. So I really want to stick to that times. And the last couple of shows we've finished, if not a few minutes under, like absolutely on the head. So that's something I try and work towards. But we've also learned to, I think, ask for help more. Like, if we're not sure about something, rather than trying to just cuddle through it.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of, even the wrestlers themselves, backstage, they're more than willing, help out. We've recently as well taken on an agent backstage now as well, so that we can concentrate on other things that we need to concentrate, which is great. And the shows, like the way the shows are put together now, just having that extra bit of experience out the back, it shows in volumes.
Yeah, definitely. And back to you, Dave. I mean, we spoke earlier about some of the big names that you're bringing into DNA on some of your shows. I mean, some of the other names that you brought in throughout the year, you had the likes of David Starr, Lana Austin, Sean Custom, Zaya Brookside, William Evers, the OJMO, and many, many more. Now, if I was booking a wrestling show, I'd be marking out, and I'd be getting all excited as a wrestling fan. Now, we spoke earlier about the two of you started off as wrestling fans. But when you're putting these cards together and you're kind of seeing these wrestlers perform for you under the DNA banner, it must be pretty exciting. And do you ever reach a point where it feels strangely normal after a while? Because like I said, for me, I'd be marking out constantly. But what about you guys with all these big names performing under your banner?
Yeah, at the beginning, first few shows, you probably were a bit like, oh my God, it's Paul or something like that. Yeah. But then, he would soon, bring you back down to earth and say, oh, I'm your boss kind of thing, and stuff like that, But yeah, just it's been a pleasure. And even though they're all big names, at the end of the day, they're just normal human beings. They come to the shows, they're respectful, they're nice. No one's like a diva or anything like that. It's been a real pleasure to work with every single one of them. We've not had any issues, no problems. Everyone's been really cool, and I think everyone's really enjoyed wrestling for us as well. I think the feedback that we've had, that you've mentioned as well, they do honestly really enjoy, wrestling for DNA. And because even with the wrestlers that have been on the shows that ain't on future shows, I'll always, keep base with them and, just chat with them and see how they are and stuff like that. And they're all like, can we get on another show and stuff like that? So, I think they all really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just to add to that quickly.
Yeah.
One thing, like we still are wrestling fans, like we always will be. But once you kind of step behind the curtain, one thing I've found is you realise like how talented and how extraordinary these people are. It's like Dave's rightly said, you meet these people and you talk to them and they are just human beings, and then they step out behind that curtain and you just think, like Paul Robinson is a prime example. This guy, he just transforms. Like, he's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And that you get a real sense of like how actually talented like these guys are. A lot of people will down talk wrestling. Do you know what I mean? Like it's fake or whatever. But you do until you've been in both sides of the curtain, sort of, as per se. You really do. That's what I notice. And it still blows me away sometimes when you watch them thinking, I was just having a conversation with this guy about his family 5 minutes ago. He stepped behind the curtain and he's, throwing beer at people. It's crazy.
Yeah, I find that aspect really, really fascinating. I really do. But changing it ever so slightly then, we spoke about some of the big names, but I mean, I've interviewed a number of promoters on this podcast, and one key objective, was how they like to bring through newer talent and to give a bit of a platform to the younger wrestlers who are just getting into the business. How would you say you've tried to do that with DNA, and how do you plan to build on that when things get back to normal, kind of investing in the newer talent, the younger talent that wants to kind of, make a bit of a name for themselves from the grassroots up, basically? But David, start with you. Tell us about what you've been able to do to bring through wrestlers, through from the grassroots.
I think Anthony touched on it earlier. We're very lucky that we're only 45 minutes away from a very good school in Essex, which we've been lucky enough to use some of their talent, which has been very helpful. One thing we have tried to do is we've always wanted to put training, like, well, they're not trainees, but like the guys that are just starting up.
Yeah. We
want to put them with experienced wrestlers so that they learn, on the job. It's all well putting wrestlers in matches, but, you want to give them as much opportunity to help their careers and learn, so that's a good example is putting Corey in with David Starr, that match has done wonders for Corey, and the feedback he got afterwards, he's took on board, and, he'll only get better from that.
Yeah. And Ants, do you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, so I totally agree. And where Dave touched on, we try and put these new kind of up and comers who we see, have got very bright futures in wrestling. We try and put them in rings with those a little bit more experienced as well. Our main priority as promoters is to protect all wrestlers. So, for us to sling two new guys who are new to wrestling, and one of them could come off looking very, very bad. We don't.
Yeah.
We want to protect these guys and nurture them till they get to a point where they'll be the ones in the ring, wrestling with someone newer.
Sure.
We've had Corey David Star, like Dave said. We've had Tim Lee versus Spike Trevay, it's a very underrated match, and that was a hell of a match, probably one of our best matches we've had. We had Kafka went up against El Fantasmo again. That was, a lot of people said that wouldn't work, but that was a mind-blowing match. We've now got the likes of Ruthless Forrest Hayes, who used to go by Harry Mann, with Dexter. So there's a lot of good guys coming up out there, and we want DNA to be that platform to give these people opportunities.
Definitely. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you just recently surpassed your first anniversary with your February show, and your February show this year was It's in Our Blood 2. Obviously your first ever show was just It's in Our Blood. Even more big names making their DNA debuts, the likes of Millie McKenzie. I'm a big fan of Millie McKenzie over here. The Anti-Fun Police, as well as the start of your DNA Championship qualifiers. I think you had 2 qualifiers during your February show. That anniversary show must have been a real moment of pride for you guys. I mean, know that you've really set your mark on the British wrestling scene, especially out there in East Anglia, in Suffolk, and that you've had several successful shows under your belt as well. Up until then, the future must have been looking really, really bright for you. We're obviously not knowing the future and what was going to be happening, what we're experiencing at the moment. After that anniversary show, you guys must have been really, really proud, really, really buzzing, and kind of thinking, well, we got our first year under our belt and the future's looking bright. But starting with you, Dave, the future was looking very bright after that first year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think it will be. It still will be. We're lucky that wrestling isn't our main income, so we can take a step back now and wait for this to all blow over, and we can really get back into it. We're lucky that we're in that situation. After the anniversary show, we just crowned our first champions as well. The tag team champions and the lads. So it was really nice having championships finally. That kind of like made it feel like a proper promotion. But yeah, we'll be fine. And as soon as we can put on shows again, I think the trend will continue. We're quite confident now that every show we put on from now on will be just as good as the last, if not better.
Yeah, and over to you, Ant. I mean, following on from that question, really, like I say, the world's in lockdown at the moment. Wrestling's kind of in a bit of a holding pattern. But when the virus is under control, how strong do you think the UK wrestling scene is going to be? And are you confident that DNA can carry on from where it left off from their last show in February? I mean, but looking at the UK scene as a whole, do you think there might be casualties, or do you think that people will be so hungry to go back and see wrestling again that everybody will kind of bounce back? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so from obviously a DNA point of view, I think we're very lucky that we are still very young. So we have, we'll bounce back from what's happened. But it also gives us a chance to kind of reflect. Everything happens so quickly these last 12 months. So it gives us a chance to kind of reflect, maybe tweak a few things, rewrite some storylines and stuff, and just have a real good look at, as soon as we can get off the mark, kind of where we're going to go, what direction. In regards to the scene, the indie scene as a whole, I have no doubts that they'll bounce back stronger than ever. The way I view it is we've now got a chance to have a hard reset, so that the hunger is going to be there more than ever, and we're going to be absolutely spoiled for wrestling shows when this comes back. I personally think some of the matches that are going to come out of this, and hopefully you'll see some of the guys that are coming through will finally get the big push and recognition that they rightly deserve. I think there will be some casualties, That's very unfortunate. Hopefully not too many.
Yeah.
But as a whole, I think it will just start kind of a new era again.
Yeah. And David, any thoughts on that? I mean, are you confident that the British scene is going to bounce back? And as Ant said, DNA is quite a young promotion, so it probably won't be as affected as others. But your thoughts on how it might affect the UK scene long term?
Long term, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think, like Ant said, it gives everyone a chance to kind of reset, revalue like the promotions. I think it gives us all a chance to actually, start running promotions properly and, making sure the talent's looked after and stuff like that. It is a reset. Once we get the go ahead to put shows on again, I think it's on all the promoters to make sure that it goes in the right direction and not the wrong direction.
Definitely. My final question to you guys then. So it's about our sponsor and good friends, Turnbuckle TV. Now, we've got a good relationship with Turnbuckle TV. I know you guys have got a really good relationship with Turnbuckle TV as well. They've pretty much been with you since day one. Now, I understand that, am I right in thinking that they're going to be sponsoring your tag bouts or some championship bouts going forward? Is that the plan with Turnbuckle?
Yeah, they sponsor one of the tag belts at the minute. But yeah, like you said, they've been with us since day one. They've put a lot of faith in us, being a new promotion. But we love what they do. I think, their product and what they're doing is the best thing for British wrestling because it's all together. Every fan can watch, every match they could ever dream of on there. So I think it's a great thing what they're doing over there.
Yeah, definitely. And Ant, the final question for you then is you've just crowned your new tag team champions, of course. What plans do you have in the future when things get back to normal regarding your men's championship and maybe a women's championship? Any more gold that the fans of DNA can be expecting as 2020 progresses?
Yeah, definitely. We did have plans in place, but there will be a gold rush coming for DNA. We'll just have to wait and see on that one, but there will be gold.
Brilliant. Listen, Dave and Ant from DNA Wrestling, I really want to thank you guys so much for being a part of the Wrestling with Johners experience, and great to have you on this special exclusive Turnbuckle TV interview. So thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very, very welcome. So we've got more Turnbuckle TV interviews happening through the Wrestling with Johners podcast very, very soon. In fact, very, very, very soon. I think in about 7 days' time, we've got Xander Calloway, otherwise known as Alex Talbot, on the show. So look forward to that and many more to come. So please keep it tuned to the Wrestling with Johners podcast. And if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, please don't forget to spread the word. Tell your friends and tell your family. Don't forget to press that ever important subscribe button so that you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks again to Dave and to Ant for coming on the show. Thanks to everybody for listening, and we'll catch up with you all again soon.